Genius for life. Coconut smoothies coming at you.
All right, welcome to episode 158 of 15 Minutes of Genius. I am your host, Alex Baer, without the genius hat today. Just want to show off my curls, what's left of my curls. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Genius Juice, and so a couple items just to talk about before I introduce this guy that's to my left, technically, Jody Polishchuk. Make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We're going to be releasing episodes every single week right here on LinkedIn. This show is all about just bringing on great entrepreneurs, visionaries, founders, consultants, finance people, investors that share their story of how they are involved in the CPG space. So without further ado, my guest, as mentioned, Jody Polishchuk. He is the CEO of Sundays, and they've reinvented the Oreo, finally. 0 sugar and 1 gram of net carbs. And also part of the story is he was the previous CEO and founder of Yooga, which was in business for roughly about 4.5 years. And they folded up in January 2020 based out of Boulder. So that was a startup that didn't work out, but now he's onto a new path with Sundays. And there's already some good stuff brewing there. So Jody, how's it going?
Really good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking a little bit before that. I mean, first time, even meeting you, just we've done everything through LinkedIn and messaging. So now, this is the first face-to-face that me and Jody have had. And so I got to hear a little bit of his backstory before we went into recording. But just like any other podcast, I love to hear, especially for entrepreneurs that are watching, I want to go to the past first. So before we go back to the future reference, we're going to start in the past to Yooga, creating that, what happened there, what did you learn, and then we can parlay that into how you got to Sundays.
Okay, let's go. So you need a lot more than 15 minutes to unpack the learnings from that business. but
hours of genius. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But so a little bit of backstory. So before Yooga, so Yooga was actually a pivot. So before Yooga was a single serving chia pudding cup called Chia Viva. Launched that, realized really early on we had a positioning issue. It was, the descriptor was chia pudding, which is, for most people that are familiar with that product, understand that it's like as much of a breakfast consumption occasion thing as it is a dessert, maybe even more so. So we were really pushing to be merchandised in the yogurt set just for the eyeballs. Refrigerated dessert is a really sliver of a category in just minuscule sets. Buyers were, continually pushing back on that, going, well, it says pudding as the descriptor, so it kind of makes more sense in that set, right? Which is not where we wanted to be. So we pivoted, sort of did a little bit of a reformulation, but it was virtually the same product, just positioned as a plant-based sort of superfood coconut milk yogurt. So that business lasted maybe in Yooga, maybe about 2 years or so. A lot of learnings. It really, like, looking back on it, it was kind of like, you don't know what you don't know. And just by virtue of starting, as just by virtue of starting a business with a perishable product, like, you've immediately just made the mountain higher, right? It's not that you can't win, it's just way harder to do that, right? And so, I really looked at the decisions that were made during that time that kind of just made it harder to win, right? Like having multiple SKUs, having a refrigerated product, having a product where to describe to someone what Yooga was like an entire conversation, right? Like, there's just going to be a lot of lifting on the marketing side, and a lot of education, and with that is cost comes, it's expensive to do that, right? And it's time consuming, and so just you just layer all these things sort of one on top of the other, and complexity over complexity, And, again, you just created a situation where it's just a lot harder to win.
Yeah. I can definitely sympathize with that, with Genius Juice, where our product is not easily explainable. It's refrigerated. It's $5 a bottle or $6 a bottle. So there's a lot of challenges there. And I think like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And now with all the learnings that you've had, which again, I'm sure there's so much more, which we just don't have time to get into because I want to get to what you're doing now with Sundays. But the product now is shelf stable. It's so stupidly easy to explain that it's a better for you Oreo. I mean, that's just a tagline that says it all. So it looks like you learn from the past, you've repositioned it, and you only have the one SKU, right? It's just one SKU to start.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. And that was another learning. Like, we could have launched with 4 SKUs, but why?
right.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, like you everything that you learned, you're going into this. How was the idea sparked? Were you just like, man, there's Partake and all these other cookie companies doing chocolate chip better. No one's doing Oreo better, and Oreo is the top selling cookie of all time. I'm going to go into this. Like, how did that idea spark?
Yeah. So I would love to say that, like, I basically backed that process out of everything I just said. But it wasn't that at all.
It's
It was,
accidental in a way, right? It's like entrepreneurial. It's always serendipitous how you find out how you
I
get
remember
through.
exactly. It was like 20, I want to say, yeah. So it was right after Magic Spoon. It was basically early 2020. And I was just like, how is this needs to exist for an Oreo?
Right.
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the impetus. I was like, how does this not exist? This is crazy that this isn't in market, because, intuitively just really understood that there's an opportunity for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of the best ideas are usually the simplest and the most straightforward ideas. And I think that really hit you that this has not been done. And I was reading your bio on LinkedIn and all this stuff, and the article that hit, which is about your recent fundraise, which we'll get into. Isn't Oreo? I was kind of talking on my ass a little bit, but Oreo is the number one selling
They are.
cookie in America.
Oreo is the number one selling cookie brand in the world.
In the world.
They're the number one selling cookie brand in America. I don't know what other countries there are the number one at, but they're the number one in the world. Over 4 billion globally. I think I read 1 out of every $5 in America spent on cookies is spent on Oreo.
Wow. I got to say, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rounders with Matt Damon.
Of course. I'll tag you in this LinkedIn post that I made where I screen grabbed
John Malkovich, like eating it.
Yeah, what's his name again? The Russian.
He was a part of the KGB in the movie.
No. Oh, KGB. Oh, yeah. Teddy KGB.
It was Teddy KGB. That was
Teddy KGB. Well, that's right. So I will tag you in the post I made on LinkedIn a little while ago on that.
Yeah, and honestly, whenever I watch that movie, it's like I want a fucking Oreo right now. Like it's like it makes you hungry just watching it. But
they're so good.
Yeah. So and for those that don't know, Rounders is a movie about poker. It's about Matt Damon. I won't ruin what happens, but he's a gambler. He's a poker player, and he goes up against basically the KGB, the mafia, when trying to get money and trying to earn money at these backdoor games. And one of the villains in the movie eats Oreos while he's playing. So I'll leave it.
And he keeps them stacked in his chip holders.
And he keeps them stacked in his chip holder, and there is a tell by the way that he eats the cookies. And I'll leave it there. I'm already saying too much.
You already saying too much, but also, and it's worthy to note that Rounders is really singularly responsible and credited for the Hold'em, for the poker boom. Yeah, it's from that movie. Yeah, like if you played in the sort of 2000s and everything that's come from that, it's really going back. It's from that movie.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, whenever I got into poker in 2006, it was a few years after the big boom in 2003, like the Chris Moneymaker year and all that.
Yeah.
Where this guy out of nowhere, some guy from the Midwest or whatever won over $1 million in a poker tournament that had no no skill set in poker.
Yeah.
He was just a newbie. He wasn't a professional.
Yeah.
And so I really got into poker. And anyway, we're going off on tangents, but when I was in poker rooms playing, just recreationally between work or whatever, or between appointments, everyone was talking about rounders. It was like the movie that got people into poker. And the one thing that I remember that people said, like pros said about rounders, pros respected rounders the most out of any poker movie because it was realistic. The hands were realistic. And like, you probably have seen the movie, it's a James Bond one, the one where they play poker.
I'm not a huge Bond buff. I think the last one I saw was like Living Daylight, so you shouldn't be asking me about
It's been
Bond.
a while. Okay. Well, there's a movie, and again, I can't remember, Casino Royale. That was
okay. Yeah.
And they were playing poker, and in the final hand, it was the most unrealistic hand ever. It was like total Hollywood. Like one guy had 4 of a kind, the next guy had a straight flush, and then like Bond had like a royal flush. It's like, dude, when does that ever happen in poker? Never.
That doesn't happen.
So you just went through a fundraise. Congratulations. It's not easy in this environment to do that. So you have to have a great team and a great product, which you do. How did that fundraise happen? How were you able to make it happen in this environment, just for people that are watching, looking to raise capital and get some advice from you? And what is next for the brand now they have some money in the bank to grow it?
Yeah, we have a little, not a lot.
A little, not a little.
So, we started raising capital for this business with small angel checks about a full year ago now. And like you said, man, it's just a slow grind. It's one of the most difficult things to do, which is to separate people from their money in any climate, in any sort of environment, especially this one. I just kept at it, man. That's it. It's just speaking to as many people as possible. And it was a lot of small checks, actually to the point where our attorney was like, yo, dude, you need to slow down on these tiny checks because you're clogging up your cap table. And there's a law, and actually don't know what it is in the US. I'm assuming it's the same, but in Canada, once you reach a certain number of investors, individual entities on your cap table, you have to register with the securities regulators, which he was like, you don't want to do that. So I'm just trying to communicate to you that it was a very slow grind, a lot of really small checks, came from just a lot of me posting on LinkedIn, really building the brand online. So there's a lot of sort of inbound like that, smaller angel investors, and then connected with the guys at Space Station also through LinkedIn. And it just happened really fast, man. They just, they're investors in Magic Spoon. They're investors in Olipop. A lot of similarities between the three brands in terms of value proposition and the type of consumer that we're for. And it's just happened, just came together really quickly. And I'm super grateful for those guys because they're amazing partners.
Yeah. And I think what also is a really great selling point is that you've been through this before. You're not just right off the street where you don't know what you're doing. And I call it a learning experience, not a failure, right? And many entrepreneurs go through this, is you have such a great learning experience that Space Station and all your investors have a lot of faith in you. You've learned, you know what to do going forward. You're not going to hit the landmines that a lot of other entrepreneurs hit that, first time in the business, I should say. So I think there's a lot there where, the product, I think it's a great product idea. The packaging is awesome, but they are really betting on you. What you're doing. And that's how you're able to raise that level of capital, right? This early on. So what are you doing now that you've raised this money? What's the, is it public yet? But I can't remember. I know it was on Space Station's newsletter, but
we're not announcing how much it was, but it wasn't a 7-figure raise.
Okay. So it's
if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
So it's a 6-figure raise. What is next for you guys? You're just going to get it out there, get it on the shelf and do D2C, or what's your play?
We're starting, we just launched, so you can buy sundaes on our website, which is eatsundaes.com right now.
Gonna buy launching right now.
You can buy them right now. Launching on Amazon in early Q1. And honestly, that's going to be the majority of our year, is just really Amazon. We're looking at doing some really focused retail tests. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's a really terrible overlay because I'm not good at editing on here.
That's
But
okay.
that is it.
They'll get it. So, just really trying to stay very disciplined, right? It's in this space and in this game, it's a never-ending stream of opportunities, and I think it's important, at least in my experience, to have a plan, stick to the plan, and that means saying no to almost everything, right? Like really trying to delay, push off, really looking at what are the capital efficient moves, right? Like what are the near term moves that are going to really move the needle? For example, like UNFI is not that, right? I mean, that's a really capital inefficient way to launch a brand. So really just looking at how far can we stretch those pre-seed dollars while also really building the brand and driving profitability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good things there. And, a lot of entrepreneurs are adjusting their strategy in this environment. So you're like ahead of the curve. Like we're adjusting our strategy, which is not go everywhere. We're not trying to go to too many conventional stores or mass market. And only go where we know the product is going to sell and we're going to get the best margin and profit from those accounts.
Yeah.
And I'd rather do and in this environment, I would do less in sales, significantly less in sales with profit versus more in sales with no profit. That
100% agree. I think if we start to unpack that, and this is just my take, is people are in a rush. It's like they want to get there faster, and that's just there are very few examples of that happening, but that's not really the way to build it. And if you kind of remove that arbitrary timeline of I need to be here by this time, then really the only clock that you're on is your bank account, right?
Exactly.
And your runway. And as long as your investors are aligned in that, then I think it really is the slow and steady sort of thing is the way that I'm looking at it. And I mean, the thing is, even if we did want to go into wider retail, we have no brand awareness, right? We don't really have a brand yet. I mean, it's starting to be built, but the famous great and powerful James Richardson says, a logo is not a brand, right? And so it's even if we were to go into wider retail, even despite the capital inefficiencies of that, it's just we don't have a lot of awareness yet. We need to really build the brand first and build that foundation first.
Exactly. And I think exactly. I think there's so many things that really ring true there. And I like how, the only time limit is really your bank account. I really like that phrase, which I'm going to take to the bank, if I must say so myself.
You can steal it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's already jacked. It's already in my signature. I did that a minute ago. And, but I think, entrepreneurs need to realize it's not about appeasing investors and trying to get to an exit as quickly as possible. It's really about building building a company, having a solid company with solid margins, EBITDA, not being heavily reliant on future capital. So I think it's always good. You need to raise capital at some point, right? Unless you have money in the bank from, unless you're Lance Collins or something.
Right. Or you want to take 10 years to bootstrap. I don't want to do that either.
Right? Exactly. So if you're not in those two scenarios, you're probably going to raise some money, or you'll need to kickstart things, R&D, product development, get it on the shelf, do your first production, do some initial marketing, do some taste testing to get it out there. But it's turning where you raise once, but if you have a solid foundation and a great company that you've built and great structure, you don't have to continue raising over and over and over again and diluting everyone in the mix, especially diluting all the early investors that took a chance on you
Right.
when it was an idea, when it was like a
Yeah.
rendering on a computer. So
Right.
like, I really, really like that strategy, which is like, raise when you have to raise, solid foundation, and build a great company. And if it takes 10 years, you know what, man, like there are exits happening. Okay. Like in like, there's companies that build for 5 or 6 years, right? They kind of rush it. Their margins are not great. They're not profitable. They go to exit, right? They go to exit. They have a bad exit, or they have a substandard exit, where
Right.
the only people that win at all are the founders.
Right.
All the investors, maybe they get 1.5x, but
Right.
investors don't want 1.5x. They want 10x. They want 15x. They want 20x. So good things.
Ideally.
Yeah. So good things are worth waiting for. And, investors need to also understand that if you're going to put money in and the company is going to be building a strong foundation over many years, it might take 7 to 10 years to get your investment back, but the exit's going to be much better. So that's, to me, that
It
needs to
probably,
be.
yeah, it probably will take that long. I mean, if you look at, real enterprise value is like 7+ years,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And, something earlier that you said was that now I know what to do. I actually don't know what to do right now, but I know what not to do, right?
That's
And
that's that's
so
it's important. Yeah.
building a business with an exit in mind, like that was a fundamental mistake that I made with my last one. With this one, I want to build a business and I've said this a few times, where it's so profitable and so fun and like throwing off so much cash and really like meeting the needs of our customers and serving as this creative outlet for myself and our team and all those things. And if that's the case, then it's like you don't care if you ever sell it,
Yeah.
right? Because the truth is that as you're raising capital through multiple financing rounds, like there's, if you're doing it right, there are liquidation opportunities for your investors prior to a full exit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if they're
Exactly.
in a rush, then they can get out on the way up.
Yeah. And of course, like if you're profiting and doing really well, you have the money to buy back those stocks. They're going to get their profit, their return out
Yeah,
of it. And also, of course, you want to buy back shares in a valuable company that's profiting. You know what I mean? Like, why
yeah,
not? Right.
yeah,
So it's a win-win all around.
yeah.
This is,
Honestly, dude, I'm not thinking about any of that right now.
yeah, it's too, yeah, you're in the
I'm
beginning.
really not.
Yeah. I think you're off to, a really great start. I love the packaging. I love the product. I
Thank
definitely
you.
I'm going to order it right after this to share with my family over the holidays. And you've done something that's really hard to do in this environment, which means you have a great structure set up and you have a great team. How big is your team? Before I go to the next segment, how big is your team, or who are you working with right now?
Yeah, the team is relatively small. We don't have anybody on full time. Ariel Vesport is supporting on customer service. We have she's doing like CX community stuff. Very part time.
Right.
We're really design heavy. So Christine Brown is kind of our de facto head of design, and so Django Jim, who is the illustrator who created like the whole thing. He's in Belgium. The three of us work really closely together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have Eric Fetty supporting on ops. That's just starting, but there's not a huge heavy lift there. Pretty much everything is contracted. So like Amazon, we don't have. I'm the only full-time employee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason
we're lean.
I figured that was, and by the way, Genius Juice is the same thing. Like we have full-time contractors,
Yeah,
but I'm like the full-time, like, ride and die, like,
of course. Yeah,
18 hours
well,
a
you're
day.
steering the ship.
Yeah, exactly. Being the co-founder at this point, the other co-founder stepped down a few years ago. But so I think like this model is such a great model. And it's a model that more companies need to do, which is in CPG, you don't need a lot of people to grow a brand. Like you need the right people, but you don't need a
Yeah,
lot of people. I mean, there's a friend of mine, I'm going to keep them anonymous, but they do a beverage product and they do also a food product. They have two different lines. They're going to be doing nearly 25 million this year, and they have 4 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they have one in sales.
I hope they're paying them really well.
Yeah, I mean, they are because they have the profit, right?
Right.
To pay themselves. And
Yeah.
also their equity is super valuable because the company's profitable. And, someone's going to try to knock on their door, maybe for a sale, but they're never going to have to knock on someone else's door, right? It's always people are coming to them. So I think, if you have the right people and the right strategy, you don't need that many to build a brand. I mean, you can scale it, but to scale, that's all outsourcing. That's co-packing, that's trucking, that's whatever, raw material sourcing. Like you don't need to hire people to scale, in my opinion.
True. Yeah.
So it's really cool. Well, we got to have a part 2 on this because there's so much more to talk about. We're over time. Let's go to our next segment.
Let's do it.
Called Rapid Fire Questions.
Rapid Fire Questions.
All right, here. I used to have a studio where someone else did that for me, and we cut back considerably. So now I'm hitting all the buttons here.
Nice. I remember your studio actually.
Yeah, it looked a lot nicer than this background. So
it was in Manhattan Beach, right?
Manhattan Beach Studios.
Yeah. How do I remember that? I don't know, but I do.
I mean, what don't you remember, dude?
I don't know. I used to watch I've watched a lot of your shows. That's why. And I remember you had that guy, and you always used to shout him out.
Yeah. Mark. Yeah, Mark. Nicholas.
Yeah.
And I still have his logo here at the very end of the episode, just as a legacy thing. And
nice.
I think he helped us tape 140 episodes, and then eventually we're just like, we got to kind of scale down here. And I started getting more familiar with StreamYard, and StreamYard is really cool. You can do recording, you can do live on LinkedIn. It's all plugged in and linked to LinkedIn. And I recommend StreamYard for anyone doing podcasting. It's kind of it's like the garage band of podcasting. Basically.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So we have 15 questions for 15 minutes. Yep. So you've seen some previous episodes. You may know these questions already. So pretend that you don't. But here we go.
Okay. I'm not going to remember any of them. So these are all new to me.
All new. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So first question for music, which decade is the best? The 70s, 80s, or 90s?
The 90s, because I'm a huge Fish fan, and that's when Fish was the best.
Yep. I remember. Yeah, they were the band of the 90s for sure. What do you do for exercise?
I do resistance, weight training, and cardio.
Movie you can watch an unlimited amount of times.
Christmas Story.
Yep, which is going to be aired like 24 hours.
Can't wait to see it again. I've seen it so many freaking times, and I'm going to watch it again this year.
Yeah, you'll shoot your eye out.
So good.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Favorite country to travel to?
Is Europe a country? Probably Italy.
Continent?
I would say. Yeah. Yep. Italy I'll go with Italy.
Cool. Favorite Star Wars character?
Dude, I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I would say gotta be Mando.
Right.
Just because they did that show so good.
Yeah, for sure. I like him a lot. Cool character. What is your spirit animal?
Owl. Or actually, it's hard to say. I'm obsessed with cats. I got to go with cat, actually.
Cool.
I'm going to go with cat, yeah.
Awesome. Do you like to drive an SUV, a coupe, or a truck?
Sedan.
For food, salty or sweet?
Salty.
Even though you have a sweet product?
It's, I do like sundaes a lot. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've got a sweet tooth too. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Depends on the time of day. During the day, I don't eat any sugar during the day at all. So definitely during the day, salty. Definitely at night, later in the evening, maybe sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cookie nightcap, they're calling it.
Exactly. I'm not eating chips on the couch at night. I'm eating chocolate on the couch at night.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. One of my favorite chocolate bars is called I love Hue Bar. That's one of my favorites. But there's another one called Taza. You ever tried
Nice.
them?
I've had it a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah,
What I
so
what I've
good.
been buying lately, which is kind of conventional, but it's super high quality, is Ritter Sport. You ever buy those?
Yeah, I haven't bought it, but I've seen it.
They're good. They're
They're
really
good.
good. Yeah,
Okay,
they're. I think that they're really good. Yeah.
and they're
The
pretty
Mars,
cleaning. Are they like this the chocolate bar, like a rectangle bar? Is that what they look like?
yeah, they're like this. They're like square. They have a very particular shape. That's like part of their brand.
Okay,
And it's really high quality chocolate. And they sell it all over, like Whole Foods, natural stores, conventional stores. But the marzipan one, if you're a fan of marzipan, is so freaking good. It's amazing. It's probably my favorite one.
okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Marzipan, is that a flavor? What is that? Or
Yeah, so like marzipan is marzipan with an N at the end.
and yeah,
Marzipan is it's like an almond paste sort of. It's hard to explain, but
okay,
it's dude, they're amazing. It's a red label, that one.
I'll check it out. I'm a chocolate guy at heart for sure, so I'm gonna go out and buy that Ritter Sport. I've seen it so many times. I'll buy it.
It's an iconic brand, like they're sold everywhere.
Mm. All right, favorite day of the week and why?
Oh, that's a good one. I like Friday because Friday, there were periods in my life where Friday just it didn't matter. It was just like whatever, another day. But these days, Fridays really feel like Fridays, and we do pizza night every Friday with my family and I, so my wife and our daughter, and it's just sitting in front of the TV watching whatever my daughter wants to watch, but we're just hanging out, and so those are good days.
I think as you delve into your business venture here, what you think Sunday will become the new favorite day?
I was gonna say that first. I like Sunday a lot, just because it's a super chill day around our house,
Yep.
but it's a tie. Friday, Sunday.
Okay.
Honestly, dude, I like Mondays too, though. I'm one of those
Monday. Okay.
weirdos where it's like I can't wait to get back to work.
No, I think you like every day because you enjoy your life.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So Uber or Lyft, if you're still
Lyft.
taking those. Lyft.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't know why. I just prefer Lyft. I don't know.
I don't know. I think the drivers lit and Lyft are just cooler to me. Like they're nicer. They like their job more when like Uber
Right.
people can be kind of just antisocial. Like they don't want to talk with you. And also for whatever reason, Uber drivers usually smell worse than Lyft.
I don't know. I honestly haven't taken Uber in a while.
Me neither.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I do Lyft mainly. But there's no Lyft here, and I drive, and so I really only take Lyft like at airports and stuff.
Right. Right. Makes sense. All right. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, or Kobe Bryant, the greatest of all time.
I mean, MJ
Terminator 1 or Terminator 2?
too.
Yeah, I
Saw
just watched it the other day. It's
saw in
actually
the
on
theater.
it's on YouTube for free now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
don't know if
seen it in
it's
a
available.
while, but
Yeah, like there's
that
only
was. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was like one of those movies I saw in the theater, and like I remember the arcade. They had the T2 arcade game where you
Yeah.
hold the gun and it like you press it, pull the trigger, and it like shakes and
Yeah, and like it
vibrates.
shakes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, this is again a tangent, but it's my favorite action movie of all time. I mean, I think either that or Face Off. It's kind of between those two.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I'm not factoring in mystery or drama or sci-fi like Star Wars. That's a different segment. I'm talking just straight up action. And I grew up in Los Angeles and I still live in Los Angeles. So all those areas, right? Like the LA River, right? Like the cement
Totally. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like where the chase happened and like the Galleria, when T1000's like the Galleria, like when he was looking for John Connor and like all
Yeah.
those areas and like even the chase at the very end is the bridge going over Long Beach, going over the port,
Hmm.
Long Beach. So
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
whenever I'm driving by all this, I'm like, dude, that was where they filmed T2. Like, and
Love that
I
movie.
remember in the theater, in the theater, I didn't know shit because I was 9 years old or 10 years old. I mean, my dad like snuck me in, to get me to
Right.
see it.
Yeah. How old are
And,
you?
I'm 40 now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm 43, so we're around the same age. So yeah.
Yeah. So like T2 came out in 91 and I think 91 or 92. And I was born in 82. So I was literally like 9.5 years old or something.
Yeah.
I remember the beginning, like we were almost front row, like there was no room in the theater. So like the old theaters, right, were like literally you're like
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
up to the screen.
Yeah.
And I just remember like the intro where they show like the battle between, the machine and the humans.
Hmm.
There's a human skull, and then this foot comes down on it. The machine foot comes down on the human
Yeah.
skull. I remember jumping to the ceiling. Like it was so loud and so unexpected. And I remember 2.5 hours, like just like in the theater went by so fast.
It's so
And
good.
yeah, I wish I could see it in the theater again, because I think they re-released it like 5 or 6 years ago, like a 30-year anniversary or something like that. But
I would go watch in the theater again too. And actually going back, and I don't want to derail this, but going back to the movie I could watch over and over again, if given a second chance, I think even though I'm obsessed with Christmas Story, but I think I'd have to say The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, yeah, that's just
Yeah,
classic. Yeah.
yeah,
And
those
then
two for sure.
with Kevin Arnold in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
good.
don't even know. Fred Savage, that's his real name. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, there's so many. Yeah, the holidays is gonna be about watching movies, and catching up on movies. But I was gonna
Totally.
say too that YouTube, I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe it's like they're being nice or they have some strategy or ulterior motive behind it. But they're putting movies up for free now on YouTube.
Cool.
So like T2 is free. T1 is free. Glenn Ross, one of my favorite movies of all time, like
Nice.
Office for Closers, that's on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
So, check it out.
I fall asleep in most movies these days, dude.
Yeah,
It's really difficult for me to make it all the way to the end, if I'm being honest.
it's got to be like such a damn good movie to
It's got to be really
keep
good.
your attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we, for the first time in 15 minutes of Genius history, we've gone, I think, over 10 minutes on the rapid fire questions. Last question.
Okay.
Question. Favorite food or drink if you're stuck on a deserted island and you cannot say Genius Juice and you cannot say Sundays?
Favorite food or drink? Well, for drink, it would have to be these. I'm completely obsessed with them. I drink
Perrier.
so many of these, but this one in particular because it's like, it's the perfect quantity of liquid. It's just like a few sips, and it's about the size of the bubbles. So, because these are force carbonated with with carbon dioxide, right? Which is like when you drink that, it's that burning sensation that you get from a lot of carbonated things.
Mhm.
These ones in particular, the bubbles are like quite a bit smaller, and so it's just like a much nicer mouthfeel. It's hard to explain, but I think there's a really loyal following for these ones in the little cans here. So definitely this, or just water, which is, all I drink is water and coffee. And for food, I don't know, probably just steak. I eat a lot of steak. It's kind of like the perfect food.
There you go. So steak and then Perrier. And that's a
I'm a
good
simple
combination.
man, dude. 95% of my diet is just whole foods, and then the other 5% I shamelessly eat whatever I want.
There you go. Love it. Have you ever had Gerolsteiner, the sparkling water Gerolsteiner?
I know what you're talking about. I'm sure I've had it at some point, but we don't buy it in glass because I just drink all these.
Got it. That
Yeah.
makes sense. All right. Well, so that is rapid fire questions with Jody, Polishchuk, and I'm going to try to do a sound effect here. There it is.
Nice. Cool. Good job.
That was provided by YouTube, sponsored by
Awesome.
YouTube.
Nice.
All right. Very fancy, editing maneuvers going on here in 15 minutes of genius. So if someone wants to buy your product, reach out to you, anything like that, let us know all your contact details, and we want people to go out and buy it. So
yeah, well, there's only one place you can get it, eatsundays.com, just like how it sounds. And you can look out for it on Amazon like late January, sometime February-ish.
Awesome. And right now you can buy it on your website literally now, eatsundays.com.
Right this second.
Right this second. Okay, I'm going to go on right this second. I'm going to buy it. So
I'll look out for your order.
Nice. You're going to call your warehouse like, okay, like that guy, like get that freaking order out. Like
I'll be like, make sure it's well packed. They're starting all of the early orders that we've gotten. The site just went live like a week ago. So
oh wow,
they're all going to be starting to fulfill next week.
Wow.
So I can't guarantee that they're going to land before Christmas, but for you, they probably will because one of our DCs is in Fresno.
Oh, cool.
And so you'll probably get it like a day.
Yeah. Nice. I'll get it by Sunday. Literally. It's Friday, right? Or Thursday right now.
Well, but not of this week. So they're going to start to fulfill them on Monday.
Oh, okay. So Monday it starts. Okay.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jody, this is a great conversation. We'll definitely have a part 2. I think I would love to have you on our Friday Vibes podcast as well, which is the LinkedIn Live one. That gets a lot of exposure and viewership on there. So we'll definitely make it happen, dude. And
thanks, brother.
Congrats on everything.
I really appreciate you reaching out. I'm a huge fan of your product. As you know, every time I'm in Whole Foods in the States, I make a beeline there and I buy Honey Mamas and Genius Juice, and I drink them, and I eat and drink them both at the same time, and it's the most delicious combination. If anyone's not tried that, I highly recommend it.
Love it. Love it.
And I appreciate you having me on. It was a fun chat. We should definitely do this again. We should do this again, like in 6 months, where you can be like, "Yo, like, you know,
where are they?
How's it going?" Yeah,
for sure. Well, thanks for the just for the accolades, brother. I really appreciate that. And for those that also, he's in Canada, so that's why when he said when he's in the States, that's when he's buying Genius Juice. So
correct. Yeah, bring it up here, dude. I mean, I know it's like logistically probably not really worth it,
it's a nightmare, but
yeah,
I got to learn French first, and then we can bring it up there. So
I'll be your first customer, and I'll tell everybody I know about it.
Awesome, brother. All right, so this has been episode 158 of 15 Minutes of Genius with Jody Polishchuk at Sundays. Make sure to go to eatsundays.com to buy their amazing Oreos, but they're better than Oreos because they're much, much, much healthier. So again, make sure to check us out on Apple Podcast. We're going to be posting these episodes once a week on LinkedIn. All right, take care, everyone.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.
Got it.
Take care. Bye.
Genius for life. Coconut smoothies coming at you.